Happy Music Monday, everybody! My name is Divina and jumping right into part 2 of the State of Sound exhibit, we are in the rock/pop section, which features artists like Chicago, Styx, REO Speedwagon, and more. First up, we have the Buckingham Stagecoach. They are a sunshine pop band that formed in Chicago, and even though they broke up briefly, they got back together and still tour today. Up next, we have some of my favorite items. These are guitars from the band Styx. First is the 1969 Gibson Les Paul, owned by Tommy Shaw. Just gorgeous. I love the color. I wonder how he ended up running over it, but anyway, the neck has been replaced since then, of course, and now it's good as new. We also have here James Young's guitar. It is a 1989 Kramer Sustainer guitar. And of course, Styx is from Chicago and they formed in 1972, and currently James is actually the last founding member left. I really dig the color on this one too. I don't feel like it's a very common color, that sort of like blue tealish kind of color. But anyway, next up we're going to have another spectacular guitar that was custom made for Frankie Sullivan. He is one of the founding members of the Chicago-based band Survivor. You have definitely heard of them if you've seen the Rocky movies. Their hit Eye of the Tiger is my jam. But anyway, this is a Tom Anderson Cobra guitar. And I also just absolutely love the look of this guitar. I don't know if I've actually ever seen one like this, at least not in person. Next, we have a Quadruple Platinum Sales Award for Chicago 17, an album released by Chicago. To this day, it has sold 6 million copies since its release. It was awarded to the trumpet player Lee Loughnane, and we also get to see his personal trumpet right over here too. He used this a lot during the 70s when they still prominently had horns in their sound. In the 80s, they kind of switched to a softer sound. I personally don't know much about trumpets, but I'm sure you're looking at one of the best. Chicago was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2016. And moving right along, we have Dan Fogelberg from Peoria. He moved to Los Angeles in the early 70s and began playing this spruce-topped Martin Dreadnought D41 acoustic guitar. He named it Buck, and it was his favorite guitar in the last part of his career. The guitar strings haven't been changed since before his passing from cancer in 2007. His dad was a high school band teacher and had a lot to do with his love for music, so his baton is featured here too. We also have a letter written by his dad just kind of explaining how proud he is of his son and of all of his accomplishments. And after this, we're going to see a Vehicle LP record. This was by Idols of March, which is the group Jim Peterick was in before he formed the band Survivor. As we mentioned earlier, Eye of the Tiger. And then what I'm really excited about is, well, I love REO Speedwagon so much, so I was so excited to see their Diamond Sales Award for High Infidelity. It was released in 1980, with classics like Keep On Loving You and Take It on the Run. They are actually from Champaign. Their band formed at the University of Illinois in Champaign. And then we have Richard Marx's self-titled debut album, and that actually went triple platinum in 87. And he is also from Chicago. And interestingly enough, Lionel Richie was actually the one who discovered him. Told him that he couldn't promise anything, but he thought he had talent and that he should go to LA. Moving on to our next genre, we have disco/house. This includes artists such as Earth, Wind & Fire, Frankie Knuckles, and Jamie Principle, which is actually where we're going to start. Here is his LP titled You're All I've Wanted, released in 1991. It's unfortunate, his story, a little bit, because he kind of got gypped by the industry. He was a pioneer of house music, and a lot of people ripped off his ideas before he was able to get a deal and start putting out his own music. But eventually he did finally get the recognition that he deserved, and he did chart quite a few songs. Here we have Steve Silk Hurley's sampler disc drive. He used this on some famous hits like Jack Your Body. Next, we have another LP called The Adventures of Captain Sky by Daryl Cameron, or better known as Captain Sky. Next, we have a digital turntable that is owned by the DJ Derrick Carter. He was actually born in Compton, California, but raised in the suburbs of Chicago, where he got into the house scene like many of these other artists from that era. His mixer is featured here too, and he actually really influenced the techno scene in England, so he's an international figure. Here we have another turntable. This one belonged to Frankie Knuckles. He was actually from the Bronx, but he moved to Chicago in 77. There, he pretty much kind of also started the house music scene at the power plant club that he started. Next, we have an Earth, Wind, and Fire costume. Well, just the jacket anyway. And I mentioned this in the last video, but in case you didn't see part one of this, I did get to meet Al McKay from Earth, Wind, and Fire, and just a super amazing guy. Also, I feel like I failed to mention this. The QR codes that you see around, if you pause the video, you can definitely scan those and they'll still pop up the information if you want to learn more about the exhibits. Now, this was totally new for me. I had never seen an 8-track tape before. My dad had mentioned them to me before, but I'd never seen one in person. This reel tape recorder right here was also used by Frankie Knuckles, and I actually didn't know that he worked with a lot of really big artists like Michael Jackson and Chaka Khan. It's really kind of interesting to me, too, how Chicago used to be such a big capital for music. I don't really feel like it's that way anymore. What do you guys think? And now we are moving on to our next genre, power pop. This part of the exhibit will include artists like Cheap Trick, which you see Rick Nielsen right there. I was definitely most excited about seeing memorabilia from them because I absolutely love them. I mean, who has not heard I Want You to Want Me? Such an amazing song. But we'll get to them in a second. Other bands like Pez Band, Buckingham's, The Shoes, New Colony 6, etc. First, we are going to be taking a look at an LP by Off Broadway. They were formed in 1977 in Oak Park. It was founded by Paul Darrow, Cliff Johnson, Paul McDermott, John Pasdan, and Dan Centercola. Next is a 45 single record by New Colony 6 called Things I'd Like to Say. Next, we're going to be taking a look at Mike Zelenko's Drumhead. He is the drummer for Material Issue. Another great band that came out of Chicago. Unfortunately, their singer-songwriter and guitarist Jim Ellison committed suicide in 1996. He was only 32 years old, and that was the end of the band. And then, of course, the amazing sweater worn by Rick Nielsen with his face on it. Cheap Trick is from Rockford, Illinois. And I love this guitar that we're going to see here because it literally looks like him. I mean, the sweater looks like him too. It looks like him, and if it were to be standing upright, technically upside down because the headstocks would be towards the bottom, it looks like some guy standing up. I just think that's so funny. This one he actually has nicknamed Little Dick, but he actually owns like more than 500 guitars. And he did an interview once for Gibson where he showed off some of his collection if you want to check that out. Next, we have a hand-painted Pez Band logo drumhead from the 70s. Pez Band was another influential power pop band. They formed in 1971 in Oak Park, Illinois. The band disbanded in 1980, and the lead singer Mimi, who actually painted that drum head, went on to be a school teacher. Here we have another custom hammer guitar belonging to Jeff Murphy. John and Jeff Murphy started the Shoes in 1974 in Zion, Illinois, and they were active throughout the mid-2000s. Fun fact about this guitar is it actually used to be blue, and over time it wore out to be its natural finish. Alrighty guys, the last part of the exhibit that we're going to look at today is from The Kind. They were another power pop band from Oak Park. What we're looking at here is their master recording tape and their tracking sheets for their first self-titled debut album. The lead singer and guitarist Frank Jalovic died in January of 1993 when he was crushed by an escalator he was repairing in Chicago's Union Station. He was only 41 years old. And that wraps up our video for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next week for part 3.